Today we're going to review the topic of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is made up of two words, photo and synthesis. Photo means light, synthesis means to combine. So basically, the process of photosynthesis means that something is using light as a way of combining other things. Before we review how is it exactly that photosynthesis happens, we are going to really quickly look at the organelles of a cell. And organelles are the structures that are found in cells. Right now you're looking at an animal cell and you're looking at a plant cell. How do we know this? Is that plant cells contains these structures that are called chloroplasts. And CHLOROPLAST. If you notice, there's no chloroplast in the animal cell. Also, there's an additional layer that is found around the plant cell that is called the cell wall. These two structures are what really differentiates a plant cell from an animal cell. Everything else is completely the same. You might also look at this structure here and you're like, why is that so large in a plant cell but small in an animal cell? That is because of a lot of water storage. However, it is not a major difference that will help us to really understand the process of photosynthesis. If you were to ever look at a plant cell under a microscope, which you will do later in a later lesson, you will notice that you will see these structures that are on the outside because they're so prominent, and these are the cell walls. And they're there for protection so that the cell is not easily affected by environmental change. Also, you will notice these structures which are green in color, and these are the chloroplasts that are found in cell. In the diagram you were looking at just in a minute ago, you will have noticed that there are just a few chloroplasts. However, when you're looking under the microscope, there are so many chloroplasts, and that is why plants have that green color, because of the chloroplasts. Some of you might be a little bit familiar with this diagram or this image. This is what is normally presented to you in middle school about plants. You know that plants need sunlight, they need carbon dioxide, and they need water. And you also know that plants gives out oxygen. This basically here summarizes what photosynthesis is all about. It is about plants taking in sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water to make food. We're going to look at also how oxygen is involved in the next. Photosynthesis is a process by which green plants makes food. As we can see below here is both the word formula and the structural formula for this process. In order to make food, plants need carbon dioxide. They combine that with water. And where do they combine it? They combine it in the chloroplast. So chlorophyll is found in chloroplast of the cells. They also need sunlight. And then they make sugar and also oxygen. You might also see glucose. Sometimes in your exam, it also means sugar. So again, carbon dioxide plus water will give you, and the arrow pointing forward, will give you sugar or glucose plus oxygen. Without the presence of the sun energy, this process cannot happen at all. Hence, one thing that is utmost important for photosynthesis to happen is sunlight. Also, watering of plants, and also allowing your plants to have a good supply of carbon dioxide. These are the essential of photosynthesis. In the process, food is made and oxygen is given out. If you notice something right now And when you're comparing this type of chemical formula or chemical equation rather, to that of respiration, you will notice that everything that is made in photosynthesis is being used up in respiration. Here are your two equations. So photosynthesis, you have carbon dioxide being used with water and it gives off sugar and oxygen. In respiration, sugar and oxygen is being used to make carbon dioxide and water. They are the reverse of each other. So both processes kind of depend on each other for continuation. Because without photosynthesis, respiration will not happen, and without respiration, photosynthesis cannot happen. So since plants have the ability to make their own food, they are called autotrophic organisms. An autotrophic organism is an organism that can make or synthesize its own food. Example, plants. An organism that cannot make its own food and therefore rely on other organisms for food are heterotrophs. And they cannot make their own food. An example of heterotrophs are us, humans. We cannot make our own food because we have animal cells, and our cells do not have chloroplasts. So we cannot carry out photosynthesis, and we depend on other organisms that have food available for us, so we tend to feed on other organisms. Plants, they do not feed on other organisms because they have the ability to make their own food. Next slide.